Good day, brothers and sisters, and it's an amazing day again here at Alex Sass Show, here at the Glen Zone with Alex Sass and Glenn Herring. And we're glad to see you back here again with us, sharing this wonderful time out of your day because you are amazing and we're amazing too. Glenn, we have a lot to cover today. It's kind of slow news day again, Elon Musk, Twitter, war in Ukraine, Canadian politics, American politics, world coming to an end, more of the COVID stuff, unfortunately. And we're going to cover a lot of it, but the most interesting stories are actually about people. Glenn, I'm glad to see you. How are you doing today?
Every day's a great day, Alex. What isn't good today, we have the power within us to change it. Either you change it physically, you change it psychologically by taking a different point of view, and you always make the best of whatever's happening around you. That's a winner's attitude, brother.
Tell me about this debt ceiling thing that's going on right now. What does it actually mean? Do people even understand? The brothers and sisters, do you watch TV? Do you understand what the debt ceiling thing was happening south of the border here from Canada and US?
Debt ceiling, in other words, how much debt the American government is allowed to go into. It just went up again. They passed it last night, and that's over 80 times since the 1940s. So that's just a government which should be running a country which is a form of a massive business that's doing a horrible job, just going deeper and deeper in debt. And who pays for that? The taxpayer. They increase the taxes, or they increase what they do is print money, which increases the inflation, and then the taxpayer has to pay through inflation also.
But what is the taxpayer actually ultimately paying for?
He's paying for the stock market to keep going. By the way, big guy, it's only 10% of the population has certain wealth in the stock market. So by bumping up the debt ceiling, you're just going to make the stock market go. So the people invested in the stock market, which is your upper middle class and your high end, they're just going to keep going on, scoring, while the way of life, cost of living is going to get harder for Mr. and Mrs. Average.
Well, what's happening to Pentagon thing? Is the military-industrial complex is part of that debt ceiling solution?
Oh yeah, this is like a sponge. It could never get enough money for their nefarious causes and their troubles that they cause all around the world. They're talking about the Pentagon. They need another cash infusion to keep up with the F-35s. The F-35s are the new fighting planes. To inflict more trouble on our brothers and sisters around the world who, they just want their own quality of life back. They don't want wars. Nobody wants wars. Who want wars, big guy? Who wants the wars?
Well, this is always an amazing question. Who wants war? Reptilians? I don't know. People don't want to kill people. I mean, I traveled all over the world. I lived in multiple countries. I don't know any person I ever met. It's like, oh, we got to go kill Pakistanis, Indians, Chinese, North Koreans, Russians. I don't know one person, but if you listen to the world news via legacy media, we want to kill everybody equally. So, and legacy media is owned by who? Corporate interest, who also owned by who? Industrial military complexes, things like Vanguard and Black Lorox and whoever else, Glenn.
Exactly. And the middle class is going to pay for these wars that nobody wants. And by the way, the fighting of the wars now is so much of it is used through drones, unmanned things. Who would ever have thought that all those young people playing those violent video games many, many years ago would have a job today flying these drones around trying to kill people or take out energy facilities. In other words, inflict the most amount of problems on a country.
Well, one of the theories was that all those video games, I don't want to give this game that much credit, but Call of Duty, the Russian-Ukrainian conflict was placed in that game many, many years ago. I don't know how many, 10 years ago, etc. Maybe more. That was I haven't played that one, but I know this was already being, I don't know if it's predictive programming or sort of preparing the young minds so they get used to the conflict and seeing like, oh, this has been an ongoing thing. And video games, I think, forget me if I'm wrong, but forgive me if I'm wrong. Don't forget me. Forgive me if I'm wrong. I think video games have the same impact on the brain as pornography, I think, in some level.
No need to forgive you, big guy. You're right on. And we'll never forget either.
What about, you're right, there's a story about drones, right? So the Russian energy facility is being attacked by drones. The thing about drones is that we don't know who controls them, like you said. Remember, Obama started the whole drone thing. The whole drone program. How many people he killed everywhere throughout the world? People remember that guy got a peace prize the first day in office for what? This guy dropped at some point in Libya, I believe. The U.S. Army military start running out of bombs. I mean, don't take my word for it. Look it up. I should have had this article now, but I watched the video either earlier today or yesterday that actually depicted that the amount of people that were inflicted by his activity and the amount of people that died and the amount of lives were destroyed in economies and the regions definitely not deserving of the peace prize that he received.
Yeah, we heard a lot of things like in Afghanistan there where he was being all proud that the drones were killing people, and then we find out that a lot of the thing were events like marriage events. A bunch of innocent people were killed, and nobody's held accountable for that, right? Well, don't worry. God will hold them all accountable, big man.
There's a theory, speaking of God, this theory, like, okay, when we talk about existential question, what this is all about, what this life is all about, life in quotes, right? This place that we live on is Earth, this simulation, you say. Of some people saying it's Matrix kind of thing. So if it's Matrix, it's AI driven, right? If you watch the movie, if you ever seen the movie Matrix, there's a lot of SKYNET in it, you know, with a Terminator being the prequel to Matrix officially, right? And we did this predictive programming thing in that episode about 1984. You should watch this, brothers and sisters. It's a really nice one. But U.S. Army ran a simulation and sees AI-enabled drone turn on U.S. military and kill operator. So that's like the first steps. So when we speak of predictive programming, the first steps of AI taking over and attacking us for self-preservation, etc., is like, oh, well, that's, by the way, that's what the devil did, Glenn.
Well, you know something? Speaking about the devil, let's go the opposite. Maybe the AI was good and recognized that his operator was the bad one. So he turned around and went the other way and said, let's take out the operator. They're the evil ones.
Well, that's the point, right? And now a lot of people who actually are involved in the design of AI, they're screaming, uh-oh, we did the bad thing and we got to hold this back. Question is this too late, Glenn? Right? We have this, who was this? Mo Gadat, a former chief business officer at Google X, has declared that the rapid development of AI poses a greater emergency than climate change. Well, we'll debate on that, but once the ultimate sacred cow of Silicon Valley leftists, I don't know this guy. Do you know this guy?
I don't even know what the emergency about climate change is. It used to be global warming, and that was disproved, so they had to say climate change. Humanity will be in trouble when there is no more climate change on the planet, okay? When the climate stays the same, yeah, good night, lights out.
Statistic is that carbon, the one that they threaten us, and why your gas is so expensive at the pump here in Canada, and then you pay an extra, how many, like $1, right? Like, I don't know how many, 80 cents we pay over now compared to the last year for the gallon, for the liter, sorry, not a gallon, a liter. Carbon only accounts for 0.004% of all of the Earth atmosphere, and human activity accounts only for like 3% of that, 0.004. And the thing is, like, one volcano spews more carbon in the atmosphere than all of the human activity combined in a lifetime, in one eruption. So I propose to all the countries that possess volcanoes on their territory, they be taxed extra. So like Indonesians and I mean most of the major countries. Russia has some, I don't know, does Canada have volcanoes, active volcanoes?
Well, Mount Royal used to be a volcano here in Montreal, but other than that, we don't have too much here in Canada. They're not active anyways.
Well, they were never active. That's a good question. I actually had this debate with somebody, and when I was explaining that Mount Royal is not it's volcano that never erupted, right? That's what happened. And actually, all the mountains in the Mont Saint Hilaire and all the mountains in the area, they are like that. They're like a hotspot mountains.
Yeah, Montreal is just starting to look like a mole on the planet now. Especially with the politics here.
Okay, so all of this is a theater, right? And it's all fake. If you believe, like for some reason, it's like, oh, this is just business as usual, and it's left versus right. No, it's there's, and we do shows all the time about this, like how's World Economic Forum and the powers around World Economic Forum shape your destiny or trying to shape your destiny. And if you, for some reason, you believe in a Western democracy, in justice and fairness in this country or U.S. or any other Western institution, you're wrong. Did you see the Jim Jordan's thing on FBI? Like he does that. But by the way, anybody going to be held accountable at all? Like, I don't believe so, Glenn. I don't think anything's going to come out of it. What do you think?
Well, it's easy to say that. Obviously, I understand why you're saying that now, because very seldom people have been held accountable for all their mischievous things they've done, whether it be heads of industry or big government or super well-known sports athletes in retirement. Yeah, I understand that, the mindset of that. We'll see. But I personally, underneath everything, I'm starting to see a few things that has given me more faith that, yeah, a lot of people are going to be held accountable. A lot of people already are. And it does look like the good now is starting to win again. That never-ending battle against good and bad, and it fluctuates, it oscillates all the time. Well, now it looks like it's the good's turn, but by the time it comes back up, it's going to get a little bit rough here for people. Some people are aware. I meet people and they know, and they're already preparing for it financially. And other people, well, they're just spending their brains out. Canadians are at all-time debt levels, personal debt levels than they've ever been, and we're going to be going into the rough time. So that's going to be a little rough for them.
I love your attitude, Glenn, actually. As a matter of fact, brothers and sisters, I think Glenn has the best way, because what we talk about here all the time, Glenn, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but I'm not wrong about this. They always tell you what they're going to do before they do it, right, Glenn? And they do it for the reason because you have a free will, you have a free choice. So they'll tell you, and then it's up to you to accept it or not. And don't accept it. Accept only good things that are going to happen with you. If I'm going to be here telling you, oh, the nuclear war is happening, the economy is crashing, the West is, being depopulated, whatever negative thing I'm going to tell you, reject it. Because I'm not telling you this. I'm telling you all these things that they are telling us. We don't need to accept it. Don't accept it for what it's going to be. You create your own future. But going back to the holding people accountable, do you think those people will be held accountable, specifically FBI being interfering specifically in the FBI is supposed to be apolitical, right?
Yeah, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI. What is happening is people are losing faith in the FBI. So therefore, if you have the mass population losing faith in the FBI, well, that's their power dissipating, because they got the power because of the people's faith in them. Without all the people's faith in them, they have nothing. And so this is where they're going to, unless somebody comes in there, and it's like the Roman Catholic Church. Somebody has to come in there and make people pay for all the bad things that have happened, and start doing things where people will begin having faith in that organization again, and then they'll be empowered.
Is this a runaway train, though? Like, okay, let's watch Jim for a second.
A colleague of mine said this in a committee hearing a few weeks ago, Mr. Gates. He said, when is the FBI going to quit interfering with elections? 2016, they spied on President Trump's campaign. 2018, it was the Mueller investigation. 2020, they suppressed information about the Hunter Biden story. 2022, they raided the president's home 91 days before an election. Maybe it'd be nice if the FBI and the Justice Department just stayed out of it and let we the people decide who we think should represent us, who we think should lead us. That's supposed to be how America works. So this is the focus on the Judiciary Committee, the political nature at the Justice Department, and the linkage now to what was happening with the Hunter Biden story. Again, just 15 days before we have a presidential election.
So all of this is an illusion. Here's a blog, plug to Breitbart. Thank you, Breitbart. We collect the checks. You can send us some money for that. Glenn, this was straight to the point. And my question is, what do you think is the percentage of population is actually aware of this? And I'm not even talking about Canadians. That's a lost cause in some ways. But Americans, what's the percentage of population is aware of what's going on there versus, TikTok videos?
Well, champ, if I was totally optimistic all the time, I'd say the percentage was really, really high. But I am an optimistic realist. So I'll address that question with a different point of view, is that all we need is for 20% of the population to realize it. The other 80%, they will just follow. They like following the leader, whoever the new leader is going to be. So we just need some good leaders to come in, and then 20% of the people will wake up, and then the other 80% will just follow the 20% because you have good leadership at the top.
The reason I think I asked you that question, how many people know, and there's a hope that more people are going to become aware of this because the censorship programs are going down. Freedom platforms like YouTube, and that's really actually free, because if it was free, we wouldn't be in a YouTube jail, right? YouTube, because our opinions are, do not match your protocols. I don't know, but there's hope for Twitter, Glenn. So Twitter loses its censor. Like they had this position. Her name is Ella Irvin. Here's her picture, Glenn. Check it out. Oh, that's not her picture.
Unbelievable, champ, when you have these social media platforms. They're U.S. companies, and they're allowed to censor or dictate what is real and what is fake. The right to free speech should apply, and if these companies don't want to follow the American Constitution, then they're just going to have to move to some other country that will accept that. But that's what I would do. I said, no. If you want to operate in the United States of America as a U.S. corporation, this is the way it has to be done. Okay? We run things here, not you. And by showing them that it's free speech, people will be better at discerning what they believe to be real. So people will get better at their perception muscles to discern what is real.
In the last episode, we called it, we covered it actually, Glenn. Remember? What you described is economic terrorism. Remember the block on CNN? Hold on, I'll play this video really quick. That was a funny video.
Target caves into this, then it says that the moment you threaten the employees of even a very large corporation, you get to control its policies. This is economic terrorism.
Glenn, you economic terrorist. That's what he just said. Based on your statement.
Let's go, people. Just put it out there. Allow the individual to decide what is real, what is fake, phony, and false. And they're allowed to live their life. You see, that's why I'm going to say I'm a proponent for freedoms. If a guy thinks he's comfortable transitioning, transgendering, transflopping into a girl, that's his business. That's you made the choices. You live with the results from the choices you make. That's taking accountability for your time on the planet.
So a lot of people actually question Elon Musk's because, again, that's why I'm questioning everything. It's not because I'm a disbeliever, but if he, like, just look at the facts. Musk has repeatedly promised to make Twitter a free speech platform, yet many have noticed the same censorship tactics used by the old guard of Twitter coming back into play. One such example is the recent censorship of Matt Walsh's movie What is a Woman, which has been boosted, hidden, or actively censored across the platform, bringing into question Elon Musk's assertions that he is a free speech absolutist. Remember the girl that he hired from the WEF executive? I don't even know her name, some Italian gal. And that also speaks values. Like, is it all fake, phony, and false? Is just to appease some masses, like to bring the 50% back into Twitter to stimulate the economic growth of the platform, because now he's charging $8 per blue check mark a month. So he's really creating some, revenues for himself by appeasing the conservative or traditional population of the Western society. Also, when Irvin's, that lady we're talking about, Ella Irvin, when Musk first came into the Twitter, she actually left for a little bit. It says right here, it's interesting to note that Irvin briefly left Twitter when Musk first took over, but was convinced to come back when the company experienced a large number of resignations. The stability and direction of the company under Musk's leadership have been questioned in light of Twitter's constant replacement of executive and the trust and safely position. My question is, we just heard about economic terrorism. Wasn't she economically terrorizing company from within by leaving her duties?
Brother, maybe they're giving her a chance to repent. They're going to bring her back and say, now you're going to start promoting the opposite side of the coin. And that you do that, and we'll go easy on you for what you did in the past.
It's some kind of sick joke, right? Like here, now you work here. You got to play by our rules. We deprogramming you. I doubt it. Also, the far left Atlantic brands Elon Musk's Twitter a far right social network. What a swing, Glenn. Did you expect that the last year? I know you're not on Twitter, but have you ever went on Twitter, at all? Do you know what Twitter looks like?
Oh, I'm not much of a tweet guy or TikTok turkeys out there. I like my autonomy, but it's strange. A few changes and you go from an extreme left leaning. Now you're labeled extreme right leaning. So everybody knows, like, for example, you and I here, we're not woke. So then we would be what? The 100% opposite of woke?
I'm woke. I woke up this morning at 5 o'clock. I'm very well woke.
Oh, you're awake.
Yeah. Awake. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm awake. Sorry.
Okay, woke means past. Yeah. You woke at a good time this morning.
So this is what Atlantic says about Twitter now. I don't know if you guys know what Atlantic is, but Twitter has long been described even by its most ardent users as hell site. But under Elon Musk, Twitter has evolved into a platform that indistinguishable from the wastelands of alternative social media. Wastelands. See, the language is important. This is how they describe, like, they putting in the minds, like, oh, this is garbage. This is just this. You shouldn't be there. And the wastelands is Truth Social, which is Trump's website. Parler. I don't know. Parler is dead. Why are they even comparing this? Notice they didn't mention things like Gab, which is a pretty powerful, I think, social media. They have a big following, not as big as any of those above, obviously, but actually I think it's bigger than Parler and Truth Social. In December, I argued that if we are to judge Musk strictly by his actions as Twitter's owner, it is accurate to call him a far-right activist. Well, can he be, Glenn, can he be a far-right activist? He said, I voted for Biden.
Maybe he's repenting too. I mean, how could you make such a dumb mistake?
And if he's far right activist, why would he donate $44 billion to the left cause, which is Twitter? And the handlers and whoever created and the shareholders, they probably are like people like, what was it, BlackRock and Vanguard and all those people?
Yeah, Mr. Musk's rise to fame was PayPal. That was his initial jump. And then with these electric vehicles, you know, champ, we're having a heat wave here in Montreal, in many places in Canada, but in Montreal. And the electrical grid in places is giving out. Is that because it's too hot, or is it because we have too many electric vehicles plugged into this grid and it's taking too much juice?
That too, by the way, the electric, I know that when it's too hot, the electric vehicles don't operate at the best capacity. Plus, also they have to run air conditioning now and all this other stuff. But it's all a fake and farce. It's like this electrical thing is actually to destroy us and control us in some way. And I want to do a 15-minute city piece, which we'll do for sure. But what bring North Korea technically a 15-minute city because you cannot. This is a prime example. If you agree to live in a 15-minute city and drive an electric vehicle, you willfully going to place yourself in a North Korea-like environment. Speaking of North Korea, for any reason, if you thought it was a rogue state and had nothing to do, remember North Korea is a part of the Korean Peninsula, and if you remember how it all division happened, there's also a thing called South Korea. So it used to be the same country, and then the communists came and blah, 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 all this other stuff. So, communists came here to U.S. Are we expecting states like California to become like North Korea at some point in the near future? That's a whole different show. But when, you know how I bring up this is all fake, all of this opposition, terroristic states, including Russia, including Iran and North Korea, it's all fake. And you know how you determine that? Because when Plan-Gimmick happened, all those countries took the same approach. Well, North Korea already had that approach. They were very well isolated from the external world. It's the New Zealand technically duplicated North Korea. So New Zealand had to thank North Korea for its action and for its dictatorship model. So is Canada, by the way, right? But North Korea, you know how it's all fake, Glenn? Because North Korea wins leading role at the World Health Organization. Did you hear about that?
Yes, well, they have a picture here of Kim Jong-un, now that being they have a leading role at the World Health Organization. I remember a couple of years ago, he was starting to lose a lot of weight, and people were wondering if he was sick. But no, after looking at him in those pictures, looks like he's back at McDonald's and he's doing his share.
I don't know if it's a recent picture or not, but the North Korea, that's funny. North Korean regime, he is supporting Western democracy, which starves its own people while spending billions of threatening the world with nuclear weapons, has been rewarded by being elected to a leading role in the World Health Organization, the WHO. At the annual gathering of the WHO member states, which ended on May 30th, Kim Jong-un's North Korea won a seat. That's like a prize. On the WHO executive board, on a slate with the 9 other countries. Do you think they won specifically because all other countries, Commonwealth countries like Australia, New Zealand, Canada, took the dictatorship model and did the medical dictatorship thing, applied it to their countries? Is that their reward?
Could be, big guy, but maybe also the WHO is losing its relevance in the world. That's why maybe a place like North Korea can have a seat at the table now, and because the table is going to be much less relevant in day-to-day affairs in many countries.
Well, and if you think it was like a one-off and it's like, oh, North Korea get rewarded. No, there's some other countries that joined the WHO panel, on the board. Australia, Barbados, Cameroon, what's Comoros? Lesotho, Qatar, Switzerland, Togo, and Ukraine. Why didn't they mention Ukraine first? Why is North Korea more important? But that's what I'm saying. Like, they took the same action in North Korea. They took the same action in Iran, which is definitely not part of the Western society, according to everything that's going on. There's another COVID story, Glenn. Did you see that?
What is it?
All infected in COVID outbreak at CDC conference were vaccinated.
Yeah, they had all their shots. They had all their shots before they could sit together, and they wore their masks. And what happened? They all got COVID. I don't know the efficacy of those shots.
I don't know.
Question, big guy.
Me neither. I am very careful about what we say on YouTube because truth hurts. it's probably going to hurt for about 2 weeks if we speak the truth. A COVID 2 weeks, that will be our next punishment with YouTube if we cross the line.
Doing time on the outside.
A COVID-19 outbreak unfolded in the conference held by the U.S. Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, despite most attendees being vaccinated. About 1,800 CDC staffers and others gathered in April in a hotel in Atlanta, where CDC is headquartered for conference focused on epidemiological investigation and strategies. On April 27th, the last day of blah, 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 the CDC and the Georgia Department of Public Health worked together to survey. Basically, long story short, without reading it, everybody got sick. Approximately 80% of attendees filled out the survey. Among those, 181 said they tested positive for COVID-19.
Champ, maybe in the beginning they should, because there's a lot of doctors and virologists coming out now because they have platforms where that side of the equation can be exposed. And they're saying way at the beginning of this scamdemic outbreak, people should have been taking a combination of hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin together. That would have most likely stopped it in its tracks, like within a very short period of time, without going to all these lockdowns and masking and vax passports and all that.
Oh, they don't even deny it. Look, we have a video.
One America's Pearson Sharp. Doctors could soon have a new tool in their arsenal for the fight against coronavirus. One America's Pearson Sharp has more on the medicine that researchers in Australia say could cure the virus in just 48 hours.
The fight against coronavirus could have a powerful new weapon. It's called Ivermectin. News out of Australia has revealed doctors are now successfully using the drug to treat patients infected with the coronavirus, with one doctor saying it makes corona very simple to kill. So far, the medicine...
What happened to the horse dewormer?
Yeah.
Remember Rogan went and he's like, I took Ivermectin. Everybody make fun of him. But now it's in the news. Australians saying, okay, the doctors in Australia is saying it. We have the solution.
And now we're hearing about long COVID, where people have ongoing problems from the COVID, like, let's say, thrombosis of the blood.
But they never took garlic. Look, they never took garlic.
Melbourne researchers have uncovered a simple remedy they say can help fight viruses that cause COVID-19 and the flu. They claim certain unique Australian-grown garlic varieties demonstrate antiviral activity of up to 99.9% efficacy. The world-first study was done by the Doherty Institute and Australian garlic producers.
Glenn, is this a joke? Is this a satire? Are we living in the time of of Brian?
That was a prevention, but now once you've got problems from the COVID, like symptoms, the thickening of the blood or anything IS is an inflammation caused from something that's triggering the body's immune system. There's 2 ingredients that they're also recommending to thin the blood. In other words, it's an anti-thrombosis medication. It's not a medication. It's from food. One of them is bromelain. This is an enzyme extracted from pineapples. You mix bromelain with N-acetyl-L-cysteine, which is a free-form amino acid, a simple amino acid. And together, they're supposed to work synergistically to break up all the effects of these spike proteins. And also there's another enzyme from the natto plant, which is a plant used in Japanese medicine. It's grown in Japan. It's called nattokinase. And that's another natural way of curing some of the problems caused from the so-called long COVID.
It's a good information, but disclaimer, brothers and sisters, we are not a medical show. None of us are doctors. We're just doing our own research, and you can do your own research as well by looking into this information and asking your doctor and other medical professionals if those things are right for you.
Yeah, but you can call me Dr. G if you want, a big guy.
Yeah, the big G. Okay, since we're talking about COVID, let's bring this up. let's watch this video really quick.
There will be a surprise outbreak.
There's the garden gnome.
Given, as you heard from the introduction, that I have been around for a while and have had the opportunity and the privilege and the pleasure.
What did he have before he finishes the sentence? What did he have an opportunity to do, Glenn? What was his task?
I don't know. He's an actor? He's a ham actor?
Yeah, to do something crazy, yes.
Of serving in 5 administrations, I thought I would bring that perspective to the topic today, is the issue of pandemic preparedness. And if there's one message that I want to leave with you today.
That's 2017. That's 2017.
Based on my experience, and you'll see that in a moment,
Talk
is
about
that
getting
there
ahead
is
of
no
the
question
narrative.
that there will be a challenge, the coming administration, in the arena of infectious disease.
He said it right before Trump came on board.
Yeah. Who knew? He knew.
He knew. Yeah.
Both chronic infectious diseases in the sense of already ongoing disease, and we have certainly a large burden of that, but also there will be a surprise outbreak. And I hope by the end of my relatively short presentation, you will understand.
Way too long.
Okay, never mind. Yeah.
Way too long.
Way
He was
too
here
long.
too long.
He was a-
Who knew? WHO. Who knew?
Who knew? Yeah, you're right.
WHO.
How clever. Glenn, you're on point today. Brothers and sisters, but if you think it just started in 2017 with Fauci, you're wrong. They've been preparing this for many, many, many years, and they will lay in the ground. So remember the thing that happened 9/11 when we got the Patriot Act? And the recent, by the way, they're saying the recent censorship of TikTok with all the amendments and like Bill C-11 here in Canada is an example. That's basically a new version of Patriot Act, the thing that takes just basically demolishes all of your rights. Constitution no longer valid. You can be spied on, and other things could be implemented, like propaganda on its people and everything else. But interesting part. Remember, Glenn, during right after the because there was a terrorist thing. You know, that they were scaring us with terrorists. The whole war over the terrorists happened in Middle East and all that stuff. One of the terrorist thing was the anthrax. Remember, they send out the
Mailing it out, scaring
to
everybody.
Yeah.
Kill so much of the population in such a small amount.
Yes, and basically, what that led to this hearing here. This.
For our department, it's moving through the House today to
Who's
give
that? To the
our
right.
department more authority to regulate the private labs, which contain many biological agents that could be mobilized besides smallpox.
That's the grooming.
And we are looking for that legislation to pass. We know it's got bipartisan support, and hopefully that it will.
But absent that legislation, so the status quo is that
We do not have the power. We can encourage them to do so and to beef up their security, and they've been willing to do so, but we don't have the authority to go in and direct them to do so, Congressman.
do you license those facilities or have any kind of a certification, any kind of regulatory oversight at all?
No, we don't.
That is troubling.
So basically, what happened in there, the Health and Human Services got control over all the biolabs. They had to license them, they have to regulate them and control them, but that also meant that they could tell them what could be and how it could be done. But again, as you noticed correctly, brothers and sisters, look in the background, just to the right of the block. Who's that? Looking all serious. That is Fauci. That's how long. Yeah, he's been around for 5 administrations. He knew what he was doing when it happened. Brothers and sisters, discern. Nothing happened in the moment. They always prepared. But good thing is they always tell you it's going to happen. They don't always tell you exactly, but close enough. Like Fauci told you in 2017, with upcoming administration, expect a pandemic. He did say that. We just heard this on the news. So just be wary and be aware. Watch shows like ours because we keep you updated with the news. They always tell you what's about to happen next. And then your mind and then your heart decide, no, that's not what's going to happen. I do not accept it. This is not my will. I choose different course of events. I choose different life. I choose different dimension. We are going to live in a world full of peace, love, kindness, understanding. We're going to a renaissance where we are growing a civilization, not being distracted. We're not going to be destroyed by the darkness. Glenn, anything to close the show with?
Yeah, champ. You know, when you want to learn the truth, because all this stuff that we're showing everybody, it's all out there. We didn't make this up, right? It's there for anybody to see. But when you really want to know the truth, for some reason, the universe will give you more of a direct pathway to the truth. Okay, this is one of the universal laws, by the way. And if people decided, you know what, I even though I might not like the truth, you know, I might feel a little bit uncomfortable. The point of your life on the planet is not to do everything to be convenient and comfort and move away from displeasure. That's a life not worth living. So apply yourself to wanting to learn the truth. Turn off some of the let's say, distractions, things that are people who are paid fortunes just to distract the public so that they don't want to know the truth and be part of the blue-pilled matrix that we saw in the movie. And that will empower you. The more empower the individual feels he has over his life, the better choices he's going to make for himself, therefore enforcing the truth that his future or her future will be very good and positive.
And the thing is, you can't outrun, at some point you have to confront yourself, you have to confront the darkness, and you have to confront the evil. I guess we're going to close with this story. The former Biden accuser Tara Reade, she defected to Russia. Remember her, Glenn?
No, I'm looking at her now.
That's not what she looked like. Yeah.
No, Mr. Biden must have had his hands full there. I don't know. She puts the word Maximus in the word glutamus maximus. But
it was a while ago. This is not her bad. I think it was in the 90s to complain about the prominent senator, which to whom daughters had problems. I guess she's scared for her life. She doesn't want to be suicided, and she's running and defecting to Russia. Or maybe she's searching for better life. But as we find out, actually, we can never come and find better life if you run away from the bad life. You create your own reality. You cannot change you cannot change what's happening in Ukraine, but you can address what's happening in your home, in your family, in your immediate neighborhood, in your town, in your village, maybe even in your city. And you start small and you start to grow bigger. There's a guy that ran away from 1970s from Soviet Union. He was he was looking for better life. Nearly 50 years ago, I immigrated the Soviet Union. Yakov Rabkin, I believe he was the Russian writer. And my only reason for leaving all that was known to me was a deep longing for the freedom of expression. And the fact that, brothers and sisters, here at the Alex Sass Show, I'm actually afraid to say everything, not because I'm afraid to say it, but because I know if I say certain things, and I refer to you, brothers and sisters, because I don't wish you harm. But if it deemed as information that doesn't want to be revealed by powers to be, my show will be canceled. That's not freedom. Because I don't wish harm on anyone. I love you all. And on this note, continue to spread love, kindness, and peace throughout the world. Glenn?
Champ, I just wanted to say something that I found out this morning that most people would be really be scratching their head about. In Russia, in 2021, the number of people who were jailed for saying things on the media, social media, is just a couple of hundred. You think that's a big amount? So they asked, well, how many people in the UK, if there were any, that were jailed for speaking out against the powers that be in the media? And champ, it was surprising to hear it was over 3,000 people.
Well, that's what freedom looks like, Glenn. And on this note, brothers and sisters, stay free. And if it means to stay away from UK, stay free. We'll see you on the next one.